Okay, so you join me here at Cape Sata, the southernmost point of mainland Japan on the island of Kyushu. So I'm going to be spending the next 2 months exploring this region and the surrounding islands. I'm looking to go beyond the tourist trail and see what this region really has to offer. So this video starts here in Kagoshima, the southernmost prefecture of Kyushu. Let's go. But first, let me introduce myself. Hey, I'm Steven and I have a passion for photography and videography. Ever since I was young, I've always had a camera in my hand. I was obsessed with capturing the world around me. After graduating from school, I started working on yachts as a deckhand videographer, and it took me to some pretty wild places, whilst allowing me to develop my skills as a videographer. When I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with lymphatic cancer. I spent the next year recovering in Japan, and for a half Japanese kid who grew up in the UK, it was the first time I truly felt close to that side of myself. Having come out the other side, I've made a decision to invest everything into my passions, capturing wildlife, landscapes, and places most people never see. And that journey starts here in Japan, going beyond the tourist trail, and discovering what this country truly has to offer. This is the Misaki Uma, one of Japan's 8 native horse breeds. Around 100 of them exist here and only here on Cape Toi in southern Kyushu. In the samurai era, they were bred specifically as war horses for the ruling clan, and when that era ended, they were just left here. 300 years later, here they are. Man, it is so windy. I am here at the top of this hill on the beautiful Cape Toi, and there's all of these beautiful wild horses roaming around. But yeah, as you can see, it's literally so windy. I loved framing the horses with a minimal background of the sea and fields. I feel like it complements the horses perfectly. I think it's important to remove as many distractions as possible so your eye leads straight to the subject. I also caught this shot of 2 horses standing off of each other, and I think it came out pretty cool. Later that day, I then headed further down the Miyazaki coastline to a few spots I had on my list. So I've made my way a little bit further down the coast, and there's this really cool island called Aoshima, and it's surrounded by this really interesting rock formation which is nicknamed the Devil's Washboard. So I'm gonna go check it out and see if I can get some pretty interesting compositions. There's also a beautiful corrugate on there, so yeah, let's see what sort of photos, videos and shots that I can get on this pretty interesting island. It's actually really interesting seeing all of these holes in the rocks. Pretty much most of the rocks are like this. Yeah, I wonder why. I like the way this photo turned out. I used the interesting rock formation as a foreground to ground the scene and included a person on the rocks as a subject. It gives it this otherworldly feel. There are some important and historic shrines on this coastline in Miyazaki, Udo Jingu being one of them. A coastal shrine embedded into the cliff face, dedicated to the gods of sea and new life. I was so lucky to be in the inner cave of the shrine when the priest appeared and prayed to the shrine. This is one of my favourite photos this trip. Heading inland from the coast and through the mountains, I set my sights on the Kirishima National Park. So this is the Kirishima National Park, sitting between Miyazaki and Kagoshima prefecture in southern Kyushu. So it's centered around the Kirishima Mountains, which is a huge volcanic cluster of over 20 volcanoes, craters and caldera lakes spanning from east to west. Over the next few days, my plan is to hike and photograph this beautiful geopark with its stunning volcanic landscapes, crater lakes and the nature living within it. Let's do it. So my morning began at the trailhead of Takachiho-no-mine, a 1,575 meter stratovolcano on the east side of the range. Kyushu is full of Shinto mythology, and this mountain is no exception. This mountain is said to be the landing site of Ninigi no Mikoto, the grandson of the sun goddess Amaterasu. According to legend, he descended to earth and drove his spear into the peak of Takachiho, marking the moment the gods entrusted the earthly realm into his care. This event is where Shinto belief and the Japanese imperial line both begin, and his great-grandson Jimmu was said to be Japan's first emperor. To this day, a large bronze spear can be found at the peak, thrust into the ground following his descent from the heavens. Seeing the spear in person was such a surreal experience. Enclosed by the fog of the cloud, it felt so spiritual being right next to the beginning of Japan. At the bottom of Takachiho lies Miike, a crater lake with abundant wildlife. I headed after the hike to see what really lives in these forests. So I'm now in the surrounding forests around that giant Miike volcanic caldera lake, and this is like a wild bird sanctuary. So I'm going to try and go get some shots of some wildlife, which I'm actually really excited for, because there are some pretty interesting species of bird that live in these forests. So I think there is an observatory around about a kilometer down that way, so I'm going to go over there and see if we can get some shots of some birds. On the way to the bird observatory, I ran into a few wild deer. I really like this photo with the deer just peeking his head out from behind the tree. Once arriving at the bird observatory, I was greeted by an older Oji-san photographer who had been there all day for a chance to see the Rudy Kingfisher, which has been decorated inside the walls of the cabin. Highly sought out after for photographers. After a few hours of waiting, he decided to give up and head home. And only 20 minutes later, the birds started to appear. Oh, there's so many birds. Just in like the last 10 minutes, 2 different types of birds have come. And for like the last hour, I haven't been able to see anything but... Oh, species of birds that just come to this little watering hole area. I don't know what they are, but they look beautiful.
Then I got extremely lucky and it appeared. I am so happy with this shot. The ruddy kingfisher with a frog as its prey is just a dream come true. The ruddy kingfisher migrates to Japan from Southeast Asia during the summer months. Living in deep, dense, dark forest, it's a rarely seen bird.
Oi, 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 oi. Oi, 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 oi. Oi, 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 oi. I've ran into flipping wild raccoons. Oi! Oi! Dude, 2 flipping raccoons just ran into me as I'm coming back from that bird sanctuary place, but Jesus, I thought they were going to try and attack me. They were like growling at me. But yeah, it's time to head back to the van. That was crazy.
That evening, I headed to the other side of the range to the Ebino Highlands, where I'd cook my dinner and plan to complete a short hike up Karakuni Hike in the morning.
So we are heading all the way up there. I am at the top now. The view and the sunrise is absolutely incredible. So let's go. That is such a sick shot. Oh, we got the crater lake, Sakurajima, and then Kyushu Hike right in the distance. Yeah, it's so sick. Dude, what an awesome sunrise, man. Oh, so nice. I am absolutely freezing up here and I'm pretty sleep deprived. So I'm gonna go and head down and probably take a nap and chill out for the rest of the day. But man, these views are just incredible. Definitely one of my favorite hikes I've ever done. But yeah, I'm gonna go head back down. And what a beautiful, beautiful view. I'm definitely gonna do this again another time.
Having enjoyed hiking in the Kirishima range, I headed down south towards the active volcano of Sakurajima. After arriving at my first coastal spot to shoot Sakurajima, I actually found myself shooting the local residents instead. I absolutely love this image of the fisherman as the subject and the beautifully erupting Sakurajima in the background.
Man, Sakurajima is looking nuts across the bay. You know, I may be wrong, but I think Sakurajima is the most active volcano in Japan. And only like about a week ago was there a much bigger eruption and like a huge black plume of smoke up into the air. That would have been really cool to photograph, but also a little bit sketchy, a little bit dangerous. Yeah, I've just been going around this beautiful nature trail where there's a load of cats and getting a load of different compositions. Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
As Kyushu is full of volcanic activity, it is abundant with natural hot springs, so I found myself at an ashiyu, foot bath in Japanese, at the base of Sakurajima.
Doesn't get better than this. Ashiyu, and then a view of Sakurajima. Heated directly from the source.
After the footpath, I crossed over to Sakurajima, Japan's most active volcano and somehow people's home. Around 5,000 people live here on its slopes, going about their daily lives in the shadow of something that could erupt at any moment. As the sun set, I headed to Kagoshima City just across the bay by the constantly running ferry. Located on the northern edge of Kagoshima sits Sengan-en, a beautifully kept private residence and garden of one of Japan's most powerful clans, the Shimazu family. As I walked through the garden, I couldn't help but be amazed by the atmosphere. The stone lanterns, koi ponds, and little shrines tucked away in the corners made it feel incredible.
So right behind me here, I noticed that there is a railway line. So my plan is to get a bit of a motion blur shot of the train going past and Mount Sakurajima, or volcano Sakurajima in the background. And if it all goes well, I managed to get it. It should look a little bit something like this.
The Shimazu family ruled this region for nearly 700 years. Generations of samurai lords sat in these same rooms, looking out at that same volcano. I had one last place I wanted to visit in the area, Mount Kaimondake.
Man, this Fuji mountain is insane! Man, this road is looking beautiful behind me. How cool would it be if I got the van, I got a cool still of me coming up the road, Mount Kaimondake in the background. I'm gonna give it a go. The light's looking good, so let's see how it turns out.
Mount Kaimondake is a perfectly symmetrical mountain nicknamed Satsuma Fuji, and as the sun set, I shot a few frames, which I think came out pretty nice.
The sunset is currently popping off right behind me. It is lighting up Haimondake in the distance, looking absolutely beautiful. But there's this pretty interesting path right here, but it's a little bit sketchy because I think the high tide's coming in. So I had a quick little walk over there, but there's not much photographic opportunities, so we're gonna head back to the van, call it a night. Alright, so that is a wrap on the adventure here in South Kyushu. I think it was pretty sick and I got some really cool photos, but I've got a little bit of editing and work to catch up on over the next couple of days before I go onto my next adventure, which I think is going to be a special one. If you want to support me, I've just released a desktop and mobile wallpaper pack, which you can find on my website at Sakurajima Steven. It contains some of my favorite photos over the last year. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.